Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Jeanne Francine. Let's continue our conversation of the Israel-Hamas war. On your screen, giving you another live look out there. Southern Israel looking into Gaza. Southern Israel is where the homes are, where it's illuminated at this hour, and then Gaza is where it's hazy and dark. According to our content partners at the Associated Press, the UN Security Council adopted a watered-down resolution Friday calling for immediately speeding aid deliveries to hungry and desperate civilians in Gaza, but without the original plea for an urgent suspension of hostilities between Israel and Hamas. And those hostilities were very evident this morning when we first came on the air around 8 o'clock Eastern time. There was so much plumes of smoke and missile strikes, it looked like a storm system was moving through the Gaza area. The long-delayed vote in the 15-member council was 13-0, with the United States and Russia abstaining. This morning, I spoke to Mr. Ken Gray, giving a very detailed interview, breaking all of this down so we could understand the impact of all of this. He is with the University of New Haven, a senior lecturer in criminal justice and homeland security. Let's listen into his comments.
Oh, shit.
I washed my hair for the first time since I colored it.
Stories of the day. On your screen, a live look from southern Israel looking into Gaza. And goodness, you can see at this hour those missile strikes continuing amid the Israel-Hamas war. We know over here in the United States, the UN Security Council adopting a watered-down resolution Friday calling for immediately speeding aid deliveries to hungry and desperate civilians in Gaza, but without the original plea for, quote, urgent suspension of hostilities between Israel and Hamas. The long-delayed vote in the 15-member council was 13-0, with the United States and Russia abstaining. Joining us now to discuss this further is Ken Gray. He's the senior lecturer in criminal justice and homeland security at the University of New Haven. Good morning to you, Mr. Ken. Always a pleasure speaking with you here on Live Now from Fox.
Good morning, Jeanne. Glad to be with you again.
Yes, sir. So let's get to it. This was a day-long event, several days if we're being honest, and then we get this watered-down resolution. For the people that are just now learning of this, can you catch us up? What brings us to this point?
Sure. So this has been an ongoing attempt to try to find an answer to the problem there with the conflict between Israel and Hamas. There had been hope for a cause for a ceasefire and the start of finding some peaceful resolution to this. But instead, the UN Security Council, when they finally came to the time to vote, they had to vote for something far less than that. They called for an immediate, urgent and extended humanitarian pause in the fighting to allow for the flow of humanitarian aid to Gaza. Gaza is undergoing a disaster. Lack of food, lack of water, lack of fuel, lack of medicine. All these things have conspired to hurt the civilian population of the Gaza Strip. They are at a stage right now where starvation for the population there is a reality. Normally, 500 trucks of aid comes across the border on a daily basis. They are now down less than 100 trucks crossing that border on Friday. And so this is really a humanitarian disaster. And this is what the UN ended up calling for, is just a pause to allow for humanitarian aid to get into the area.
I was going to ask you, what does that urgent and immediate humanitarian pause mean? Because you see on the left side of those boxes I created, it doesn't mean the fighting is ending, obviously, with all of those plumes of smoke in the sky in the Gaza Strip area.
Yeah, but the details haven't really been released exactly what that will mean. I mean, after all, the fighting in the northern part of Gaza Strip has been some of the most intense fighting going on since the beginning of this conflict. despite the fact that the civilian population was told
I've
to go
spent
south,
enough time
now
smuggling
they're
from
being
coast to
told get
coast to
away
know that
from,
those...
Khan Yunis,
Farewell.
which is in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. And so there's not a lot of places that are safe havens to go to. And those that are supposedly safe are filled to capacity. And so what exactly this means is not exactly clear, except for the fact that they desire to get a few more trucks of aids across the border from Rafah into the Gaza Strip.
I like how you put that, Mr. Ken. It puts everything into perspective because we know obviously the IDF, they've been very blatant. They will not stop until Hamas is defeated, but it also sheds light on the innocent civilians in that area that might not have anything to do with this, and they don't even have clean drinking water.
That's exactly right. So Israel is really at a point where they are trying to get as much done as they can before they are forced to stop. And so that's why you see the intense fighting going on in the northern part of the Gaza Strip around Gaza City and now down around Khan Yunis. They are attempting to root out Hamas and do as much against them as they can, because at some point the world is going to, the international call will be for Israel to cease. And so they've got to try to make as much take as much advantage as they can to wipe out Hamas before they are forced to stop in this conflict.
You mentioned that the war is ongoing, so I think we're missed by this century. Thanks to my producer, Morty, for giving us the very we're learning that 75 plus these airstrikes don't have an address. They can
dropping leaflets telling people to go south, to move across the river there from Gaza City to get out of the area. A lot of the civilians went back north, went back to where their homes were. And is there where the fighting is going on once again. And so the death toll continues to increase. If you can believe it, and I don't know how much faith you put in the numbers, the Gaza Ministry of Health had placed the death toll at over 20,000. And so this has taken a real toll, a real damage to the Palestinians. But keep in mind, this is something that Hamas brought upon the Palestinians by doing their attacks on October 7th. So this is not something that they did not bring upon themselves. But nonetheless, suffering from this.
Thank you for explaining that. Getting back to the vote, Mr. Ken, that happened with the UN Security Council. So it took days upon days upon days. Then they finally have the vote. The U.S. and Russia abstaining. I mean, it's you would think
support of Israel. That's why they abstained from this vote. And the length of time it took was to get away from the call for ceasefire. If they had called for ceasefire, the United States would have vetoed it. And this cause
Later than
after all, the United States has told Israel that we have their back as far as trying to rid the area of Hamas.
Too
And
much clutter.
For a total ceasefire at this point would fall short of that end goal.
I saw a comment on that, Mr. Ken, noticing that the U.S. and Russia both abstaining. Someone saying you never see U.S. and Russia agree on anything, but you see them agreeing on that. What do you think led to Russia abstaining? It's very interesting to see that, especially with the war against Ukraine ongoing with them.
Yeah, I agree with you that it seems very strange that from Instead, you're going to see a continuation of the hostilities here, that you're going to see IDF pressing against Hamas as much as they can here in the near future, and we're going to see a continuation, unfortunately, of this death toll continues to rise. There are no functional hospitals in the Gaza Strip.